Hey everyone, how the bloody hell are ya? This is the first episode of the heel turn of Colonel Comics, and on this episode I've got some bloody Sheila who's harassing a guy, and no, I can't. This is all wrong. This is all wrong. I can't do it. I can't be a heel. This not me. It's not my heel turn. I can't keep it that way. No. Welcome to this episode of Colonel Comics Complains. On this episode, I am going to be tackling a falsity. That's what it is. It's a falsity and nothing else. Okay, so there's a man who has claimed that a female professor has sexually harassed him. I know, preposterous. Please keep the laughing at a minimum. But what we're going to do is have a bit of a look at an article here from the New York Times, and it's basically detailing how this woman has supposedly sexually assaulted or sexually harassed this male student from a university. Ridiculous, utterly ridiculous, and I'm sure we'll see that in the article. So let's have a crossover, shall we, and get away from the disgusting heel turn business. I don't know. Sometimes some ideas just take over. So let's cross over now. Alright everyone, so here we are at the article, and we can already see straight off the bat that, look, it's quite bad. It's quite bad. What happens to Me Too when a feminist is the accused? It's been perverted. It's been utterly perverted by this sick little twisted man right here, who thinks that just by being touched a little bit, that he has somehow faced the millions of years of persecution that women have from this Me Too movement. So let's get into the article, shall we, and have a read of this disgusting tripe. So it starts here. The case seems like a familiar story turned on its head. Avital Ronell, the world-renowned female professor of German and comparative literature at New York University, was found responsible for sexually harassing a former male young graduate student, Nimrod Reitman. Good God. I kind of skipped over his name the first time I read that, I suppose. We do see, so that's him right there, as you can see. He does look like a bit of a Nimrod, doesn't he? But we do see the beautiful woman a little bit later too, and just to see what you're all missing out on by her not getting handsy with you. So let's keep going. So an 11-month Title IX investigation found that Professor Rennell, described as a colleague as one of the very few philosopher stars of the world. Now, I hadn't heard of her up until now, but I just kind of live with my head in the stand as a progressive, and but yes, one of the very few philosopher stars of this world. I mean, you would have thought that maybe even with my head stuck in the ground, that I might have heard of her by now. Seeming as like someone bigoted like Jordan Peterson. He seems to be a star right now. But yeah, for some reason I've never heard of this woman. So that's a little bit strange. Maybe the patriarchy keeping her down here and trying to perhaps false flag assassinate her with this false Me Too movement. So we'll keep going and see if any truth reveals itself. So yeah, responsible for sexual harassment, both physical and verbal, to the extent that her behavior was sufficiently pervasive to alter the terms and conditions of Nimrod's learning environment. So yeah, that's a little bit strange. In the report, the excerpts were obtained by the New York Times. I am on their website right now, after all, stealing their content. Basically, it said that Mr. Reitman had said that she had sexually assaulted him for 3 years, and she had dozens of emails in which she referred to him as my most adored one, sweet cuddly baby, cocker spaniel, and my astounding and beautiful Nimrod. Yes, okay, so I thought Nimrod was a little bit strange the first time I kind of read it, but seeing as that's his actual name, it makes a little more sense now, I suppose. Okay, so basically, coming in the middle of the Me Too movement's reckoning over sexual misconduct, it raised a challenge for feminists how to respond when one of their own behaved badly, and the responses roiled a corner of academia, more than a corner of academia, really the entire feminist movement should be roiled by this movement, coiled up like a snake, ready to strike back at the patriarchy over this travesty. Really? Yes, what do we do? It's a challenge for feminists. I mean, how could we apply the same rules to one of our own oppressed women? I mean, that's not what we made this movement for. That's not why we do this. That's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. Soon after the university made its final confidential determination this spring, a group of scholars from around the world, including prominent feminists, sent a letter to NYU in defense of Professor Rennell. Judith Butler, the author of the book Gender Trouble, excellent read. I mean, I've got it here. Haven't read it yet, but it makes a fine doorstop. And one of the most influential feminist scholars of today was first on the list. Although we have no access to the confidential dossier, we have all worked for many years in close proximity to Professor Rennell, the professor wrote in a draft letter posted on on a philosophy blog. I can't speak for a moment there. We have all seen her relationship with students, and some of us know the individual who has waged this malicious campaign against her. Yes, I mean, for all we know that, I'm doing the figure quotation marks, these other people have molested this boy as well. Or man, I should say now. I think he's like in his 30s. Yes, we can see down here he's 34 right now. But yes, for all we know, these other people have gotten a little bit handsy with him as well, and maybe they're a little bit stunned that he's decided to supposedly strike back against these so-called predators. But let's move on. Let's not hang on any accusations. I mean, accusations mean nothing to us progressives unless we're the one dishing them out. So yeah, critics saw the letter with its focus on the potential damage to Professor Rennell's reputation and the force of her personality as echoing past defenses of powerful men. Quite frankly, I don't see it. I don't see the comparisons drawn there, so, a little bit strange. I mean, the men were all guilty. So, yeah, I mean, that's the difference there. The men were guilty, Professor Rennell clearly is not, and, the damage to her reputation, it might be irreparable at this stage, so, maybe she should sue. Yeah, maybe she should sue and, kind of clear her name there. Maybe that's what she should do. So they all testified to the grace, keen wit, and the intellectual commitment of Professor Rennell, and asked that she be accorded the dignity rightly deserved by someone of her international standing and reputation. So yeah, we're certainly leaning on her, accreditation, her abilities, her reputation, everything like that. Clearly that means she is not guilty. Clearly. Mr. Reitman is now 34 and a visiting fellow at Harvard. It says that Professor Rennell kissed and touched him repeatedly, slept in his bed with him, and required him to lie in her bed, held his hand, texted, emailed, and called him constantly, and refused to work with him if he did not reciprocate. And Mr. Reitman is gay and is now married to a man. Professor Rennell is a lesbian. Well, what a tangled web we weave. Good God. So they're both gay, yet somehow they've ended up together. And now, what is going on? This story gets more and more confusing the further we go. I'll try not to go through the full article. I mean, it's quite long here. I'm hitting the saucy parts, the parts that are really relevant here. But yeah, that's a little bit strange. Where the hell was I? Yeah, okay. Nimrod, list. Okay, lesbian. Yeah, there we are. We're back. Professor Rennell, 66. Good. Twice his age. Twice. Denied any harassment. Our communications, which Reitman now claims constituted sexual harassment. Yeah, he now claims that. He wasn't claiming that when he was getting it good, was he? Were between two adults, a gay man and a queer woman. Now, yeah, that is a strange series of events. That's a title of A Gay Man and a Queer Woman. That's a TV show title right there. And they share an Israeli heritage. Ooh, saucy. As well as a penchant for florid and campy communications arising from our common academic backgrounds and sensibilities. And they were campy communications, weren't they? Very campy. She wrote in a statement to the New York Times, all of that. These communications were repeatedly invited, responded to, and encouraged by him over a period of 3 years. So, of course, there's nothing untoward here. I mean, this is an extensive campaign of love, not harassment. Not anything untoward like that. So 2 years after graduating from NYU with a PhD, Mr. Reitman filed a Title IX complaint against his former advisor, alleging sexual harassment, assault, stalking, and retaliation. In May, the university found Professor Rennell responsible for sexual harassment and cleared her of the other allegations. So they're doing kind of a little part there, I suppose. I mean, kind of clearing her a little bit of some of those disgusting allegations there, and maybe they'll force to just hit her with this little one here. You never know with these stories. You never know. So the article basically continues on to, say that, he felt uncomfortable and everything, and we really get to the cream of the crop here. Here we go. This is the beautiful Professor Rennell. I'm mixing up my words again. So look at that. This lovely aged lady wanting to get her clammy, dusty hands all over Nimrod over there. So the defenders point to keen wit and international standing and reputation. Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, it just radiates off of her. I mean, this whole outfit, this headscarf, the way too trimmed. No, toxic masculinity is coming through there. I feel I'm starting to judge her. This clothing and this headpiece. Let's get away from this photo here because I can feel it bringing forth the some negative emotions through here. So basically, the baby continued when after Hurricane Sandy, she showed up to his apartment and when the power had gone out in her apartment, and basically, despite his objections, convinced him they could both sleep in the bed together and groped and kissed him nearly every night for a week. That's Yeah, outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. I mean, who would even do that? A beautiful aged woman like that, a gilf even, comes to your door, saying her power, oh, my power is out, sir, and comes to your house. I mean, that's a gift. That's a gift right there. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth, especially not this gift horse. Anyway, let's go on. So, we cut down to a bit more meat here. Professor Rennell and some of her backing have tried to discredit her accuser in familiar ways, asking why he took so long to report, and why he seemed so intimate with Professor Rennell if he was in fact miserable. Yes, I mean, again, some may, say that this echoes what, the men tried to do, but again, we just have to come back to that point there. The men were guilty. Professor Rennell is not. Clearly, okay? So just remember that the men were guilty, Professor Rennell is not, and, I think we can come to the correct progressive conclusion, with this article. And the rest of the article, kind of starts to get a bit more negative through there. They both feel that they've been miscast in this Me Too story. And they really have. I mean, Professor Rennell should be cast as the hero, and Mr. Reitman, the villainous little Twinkie boy, who doesn't like getting felt up by a little gilf. So with that, let's not read any more of this tripe down here. Let's switch back over from this beautiful face to my beautiful face, and kind of round out this video with some final thoughts, shall we? All right, and we're back. I honestly don't know how that tripe made it to the news, really. I mean, that was just ridiculous. It was utterly ridiculous. I mean, that article clearly had it out for that woman. The evidence there, it was nothing. What evidence? I mean, emails and whatnot. That's nothing, really. I mean, unless you've got hard physical proof, coming after her like that. And then, on top of that, we had all of those people coming out, in support of her, judging her on the character and, her reputation that she had amongst the community. I mean, what more do you need to know than that? And again, ending with this once more, she is not guilty, but the men were. The men were guilty. Just remember that. I mean, the situations may seem similar from a bigoted, outside of the box look, but once you get inside the box, our progressive little box here, once you get inside perhaps our dome, our bubble, our safe space. No, we don't live in a bubble. We do not live in a bubble at all. No, okay. Once you get in our little okay, a bubble. Let's call it a bubble, huh? Let's just be simple and call it a bubble, huh? Once you get in a bubble, you will learn that there's a difference between right and wrong, between male and female, and between guilty and not guilty. And, this is a case where she is not guilty, but the men were guilty. Remember that. All right, everyone. Until next time, Colonel Comics, away!